If you bought a starter home in, let's say, West Des Moines or Urbandale 7 to 10 years ago for around $250,000, I'm about to show you what that equity can actually buy you in Des Moines or those same northwestern suburbs today. And those numbers, they might surprise you. There's some good and some bad, right? I'm Pete Jones. I'm a move-up specialist here in Des Moines in the northwestern suburbs, and I help families just like yours make this exact transaction. By the end of this video, you'll know the real formula for whether you can afford to move up right now. Real quick, if you want a personalized equity analysis for your specific home in your target neighborhood, I've put together a free calculator tool. I'll put the link down in the description below. Check that out. It takes about 2 minutes. And with that, I'll send you a custom report within the next 24 hours showing exactly what your home is worth and what that equity can buy you in those northwestern suburbs today. Now let's break down those real numbers here real quick.
Okay, here's a hypothetical example. Let's say you bought a 3-bedroom townhome in Clive in, let's say, 2015, and you paid $215,000 for it. Now, you've been making payments on that home for 9 years. Based on current Des Moines market data, that same townhome is probably worth somewhere between $360,000 and $400,000 today, depending upon how you kept it up in your location. If you owe $190,000 on your mortgage, that's potentially $170,000 to $210 in equity. A lot of families don't realize they've built that much wealth in their home. So you might have more equity than you think. But here's what actually matters for moving up.
Here's another important thing to understand. If your home is worth $380,000 and you owe $210,000, you don't have $170,000 to work with. After you pay real estate commission, closing costs, and concessions, you're looking at more like $145,000 in net proceeds. That's your real number for planning purposes. Now, here's where most people make a critical mistake when calculating their buying power. Let me show you what the current market data tells us. If you have, let's say, $140,000 from the previous example in net equity from your current home sale, here's what that realistically positions you for. Let's say you're looking in Johnston, Iowa. Homes generally between 500 and 575 range. If you put 20% down, current MLS data tells us you're going to be looking at roughly 2,400 to 2,800 square feet, typically with 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, 3-car garage. It's generally a home built 2010 or newer. Now, if you look at Ankeny, just for example, homes between 475 and 550. Again, if you're putting 20% down, you're probably going to find homes in that same range of square foot, beds and baths, 3-car garage, but it's probably a 2015 or newer, for example. In Urbandale, you're looking at generally that 450 to 500 range, 20% down again. Pretty much same size of home, but you're probably looking at 2005 or newer. They go a little bit older there in Urbandale, and so the flexibility is there from an inventory perspective. What I'm tracking right now in these areas, in these price ranges, the inventory is generally still pretty tight. There's some flexibility. There's some listings that are out there, but it's not huge amount of inventory at this point. So that's affecting how competitive offers need to be. But these price ranges are based on actual closed deals in the last 90 days. It's a good example. So think about, let's assume you have $150,000 in gross equity. A lot of people just use that number and think, oh, I'm going to put that down. That's my equity. I'm good. But you got to think about all the costs that go into closing. Let's assume you spend $4,500 in pre-sale prep. You do maintenance, you paint, you carpet, you clean, you do landscaping, minor repairs. Those are just rough things you might do at closing, right? So during escrow, the buyer's inspection finds some items. Let's say you have to put a radon mitigation system in, you have to work on some carpet. You're given $3,200 in credits. Your real estate commission, and before you choke on this number, remember this is split in half between 2 realtors. Just saying. So say it's $23,000, which is 6% of a $380,000 sale. Your closing costs are, let's say, another $2,500, and let's say you actually have to rent a moving truck, right? That could be $1,500 if you have to move a piano or you have an 1,100-pound safe in the basement. That's happened. That's a real thing. So there's costs that go into it. So if you think 150,000 gross equity is just going into things, you got to figure out the rest of it. It's really going to be more like 115,000, which is roughly $35,000 in difference. And that's why I tell people, if you're budgeting, if you're trying to figure out the grand scheme, 75 to 80% of your gross equity is really what you'll get when you are talking about closing costs and either applying that at closing or taking the cash out at that point. So what's the bottom line? When are you actually ready to move up? So here's how I think about this. You're ready to move up when three things are true. One, you have enough equity. Generally, that means $100,000 in net proceeds after all selling costs. That gives you 20% down on a $500,000 home with some cushion. Number two, your household income supports a new payment. As a rule of thumb, if your household income is at least $150,000, you can comfortably afford a $500,000 to $550,000 home. Certainly run the actual numbers with the lender, but that is a good baseline. Number three, you have a clear reason to move. You've legitimately outgrown your space, or your kids need to go to a different school district, or your commute changed. You don't want to move up just because you can. You move up because it meaningfully improves your family's life. All right, after all that, here's what you need to remember. Most families in the Des Moines Northwest suburbs who bought 7 to 10 years ago probably have significant equity, oftentimes between $100,000 and $180,000 or more. But remember, your gross equity is not your net equity. You got to figure commissions, costs, cash reserves. So plan on between 75 to 80% of that number to be your real buying power. If you want to know your specific numbers, what your home is worth, what your equity can buy in Johnston or Ankeny or anywhere in Des Moines, and whether or not now is the right time for your family to take that move, grab my free equity calculator in the description below. I will personally review it and send you a custom report within 24 hours. And if you found this helpful, I post videos every week breaking down the Des Moines Northwest suburbs, the overall real estate market, specifically for families looking to move up. Subscribe so you don't miss them. My next video, I'm going to be covering the 5 mistakes that cost move-up sellers between $20,000 to $40,000 when they list their starter home. You definitely don't want to miss that one. I will see you there.